first info session for applicants for the Responsible Computing Challenge for India by Mozilla and supported by USAID. So we are expecting more people to join, but since we have already scheduled this call for 7, we are getting started. So with me, I have Steve Asika, who is the program lead for our Responsible Computing Challenge across globally for Mozilla Foundation, as well as joining us from US is Ziad Borat, who is the person leading the Responsible Computing Challenge in USA. Rest of the people, I mean, they're unfortunately they were not here to interact with you, but and I am Jibu Elias. I am the fellow for India for Responsible Computing Challenge, as some of you may know. So we will be having this session scheduled for 1 hour, and we will go through an overview of what Responsible Computing Challenge means in terms of the scope and why we are having this initiative, and what is the history of this initiative, and what are the objectives that this initiative put forward, eligibility and criteria for the application, which many of you have asked me personally, how can someone apply, and the timeline and submission process. So we will also take you through how the submission process is. And if you have any questions, you can drop in the chat, and we can discuss the questions at the end of the call as well. So that's the agenda. So as I said, you can submit your questions at the end of the chat. And so I will hand over to Steve, who will take you through the history and the objectives behind a Responsible Computing Challenge. Over to you, Steve.
Thanks so much, Jibu. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being able to attend the call today. Really appreciate it, and really encourage everyone to apply to what is the Responsible Computing Challenge. But first off, what is this thing that you got yourselves into for the next hour? So if you could go ahead and move to the next slide. If we're looking at the problem that we're looking to solve, it really is the stance that the group overall has taken that when we build software, when we make applications, when we do anything with technology, that it's not neutral, that there is potential harms that we need to think critically about, as Kathy Pham, who so well articulated this particular vision at the outset of the actual RCC group. Next slide. So what does this group hope to achieve in way of actually addressing this particular problem, of this challenge that we know there's potential harms that are coming up with applications like ChatGPT? Go ahead and click next. So we hope that working with universities, working with professors like all of you, that we can do a few things to help train our students, this next generation of technologists who will end up in the workforce, work in government, work in all these different domains in design, UX, to be able to help inform their work. And to be able to do that, they really have to understand a few different things from our perspective. That one of them is the social and historical context in which the work exists within. That this is not anything new, that these are not particular challenges that are particularly novel in some respects. There are novel issues, but there has to be some understanding of what has been done, and not just to be able to understand it, but to really think critically about it and how it actually ends up in our technology and the design of use of it. We also want to make sure that there's cultural sensitivity, that when we discuss in the United States, in Kenya, what that means for responsible technology, that may look different and will likely look different in many of your proposals in India, and even within subregions within that. But one of the things that sort of unites it is that we want to make sure that we, when we're thinking about technology, that we're thinking of those who may be impacted. So we want to be able to as far as the sort of deepen socioeconomic inequalities that exist. And the sort of final bullet point is really want to make an equitable system. So we don't necessarily see this as just discussing issues, but how can we actually start building ethical tools, applications, platforms, social norms, that these are not just ethics class that we talk about and exist in isolation and separation, but how can we integrate it within our sort of core teachings of whatever it is that we teach. Next slide. So just to give you a sense of where we've been and just sort of the history behind it in a nutshell, we started off in the United States back in 2018. So we've been running this program for a few years now at 27 universities. It's actually larger than that now. But we have a number of universities in not only the United States, but now in Kenya that just recently launched within the last year. I've worked with 50,000 students, 60 professors, really running some different subject areas, everything from computer science to law to the humanities to mathematics and everything in between, in what is essentially 100 distinct courses. So these are things that we're hoping to move forward. And the types of institutions that we've worked with have been pretty wide. So everything from the sort of MITs, Harvards of the world to smaller institutions that are more locally based. So, you know, we don't discriminate based on the size or prestige of institutions and really want to be able to sort of address, as we mentioned, a diversity of constituents and potential students that we want participating in this program. We also have something called the Playbook, which is a how-to guide, if you will, of how you might want to incorporate this within your particular courses. They are, as a heads up, very US-centric and within, as such, very specific to the organizational structures within US institutions, but nonetheless gives a good starting point for many. We also have a global community practice, and we have an annual summit that we bring our awardees together. So the idea here generally is that not only do we provide award funding, as you'll see, but we also provide a lot of additional supports, that we have opportunities to attend different events. We have opportunities to publish in different areas. And this is one, we like to see it as, at least in 2018, as the sort of start of our relationship, and we continue support even after their award period ends with our alumni program. And that's something that we're building out. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Jibu. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for giving that context around responsible computer challenge from its history and what it stands for and what are its key objectives. Now, coming to India, I think, you know, like Steve pointed out, we have RCC in Kenya and RCC in US as well. So every country has its own unique characteristics, whether it comes to how it approach technology or how it approach to the industry, technology industry, or how it approach to computer science education in general. Now, coming to India, we are known to produce a huge number of CS graduates every year. So according to numbers, we generate 250,000 of computer science graduates every year from India. And we have one of the most thriving technology export sector that's reaching around $178 billion per year. Now, the problem is that we have often heard this, that India has quantity in terms of CS graduates, but when it comes to quality, there is a lot of questions being raised. Even industry bodies like NASCOM or other industry experts have pointed out that a big chunk of this 250,000 graduates that's coming every year is not readily employable. So it easily points out to the fact that there is something wrong with our country's computer science education, and something that needed to be addressed regarding that. Now, but more than that, another problem we have is that our computer science education is predominantly focused on employment prospects. I think many of you, I think some of you are academicians here, some of you are students and some of like Vasundhara, you are research scholars, I think all of you will understand the engineering college or computer science culture in India, where most of the students, the whole target is to get through the first 3 years and get the placement in the last year, to the top companies like Wipro, TCS, Infosys, Tech Mahindra, and all those tech giants in India. So this has become a norm, and this has become the whole reason why computer science education exists in many of the universities in India. And unfortunately, many of these colleges and institutions advertise their achievements or broadcast their achievements, saying this many students got placed in this particular company. This is our placement record. Now we have reached a point where, like Steve have pointed out, with AIs like ChatGPT coming up, we have reached a point where we have to think beyond this placement. We have to think beyond getting a job. As also, we need to consider the ethical and broader impact of technology, such as AI and many other computer science streams on the society. Now, that's what RCC India aims to do. It aims to cultivate a deep understanding of social, cultural, and ethical dimensions of this technology. We want to create technologists, new generation of technologists who are aware of the challenges, who are aware of the grassroots problems in the country, and address them through their own lens of doing things. Now, the RCC India offers up to 25,000 USD or 20 lakh rupees to institutions or team for 1 year to support development and piloting of approaches that integrates responsible computing into existing undergraduate curriculum courses with humanities, law, policy, social sciences, or any other closely related subjects. So this is what RCC India is about. This is what it stands for. And we have opened our applications earlier last week. Now, what success might looks like. I mean, this is not an easy question for all of us to answer, but through this program, we want to promote a change in culture so that the technologists will consider social impact as first order of design constraint. I mean, from time to time, we come across very negative news in press as well as in other media, other social medias about how certain technologies are having harmful effects in India, or how certain technologies are misused by certain organizations, or even how certain startups and the company cultures are providing or becoming a major roadblock in innovation itself. Now, by creating the creation, integration, and spread of this curricula that integrates ethics into undergraduate sales education. So we are focusing on undergraduate part because we feel that's where these ideas should be introduced to the students, rather than we wait for them to finish 4-year, 5-year of course, then getting a job, then you giving them a course on responsible AI or technology ethics or computing ethics. It's better to introduce this kind of responsible computing courses to students in the early stage in their undergraduate phase, and thus to create a new way of engineers who bring holistic thinking to the design of technology products. Now, I have Ziad Borat with me, who is the US Fellow for Responsible Computing Science. Ziad, wonderful to have you here, and thank you for joining. And thank you for Steve also joining on such an early time from US. So Ziad, you can, it would be great if you can take our audience to our past projects.
Thank you so much, Jibu, and thanks also to Steve. As Steve has mentioned, the Responsible Computing Challenge launched in 2018, and so we've seen a number of cohorts effectively graduate through the program and implementation periods. And I wanted to mention a couple because they really draw out the flavor of some of the projects that are possible and some of the things that you can think about in designing projects for these kinds of interventions. So some of these I would also encourage you to look up, but past projects in the US have included something like what is called the Impossible Project at the University of Buffalo, which is an ongoing project. And in fact, PIs, principal investigators that are affiliated with that project have also been awarded funds for this year as well. or at least had been invited to do so. But it looks at a redesigning first-year seminars and is a very radical way of integrating role-playing and various approaches to critical inquiry when it comes to technology. So students are, for example, asked to reimagine policing algorithms and come up with solutions on the fly. Technologists and students, and the name behind the Impossible Project, which I like so much, is to indicate that, you know, we need to be thinking about these problems as somewhat impossible, but really pushing ourselves beyond them. And so the University of Buffalo has been piloting this for a number of years now, and it's quite an exciting project that with the support of Mozilla has been moving forward. The second one that I would encourage you to look up as well is CU Boulder. And in this case, what we see is CU Boulder offered undergraduate, amongst other things, in terms of curricular interventions, but fellowships towards their undergrads as well. And what's interesting and what's great about this as well is that it shows that the students have undergone an intervention, right? And it marks them in a particular way as having undergone this intervention, rewards them for doing so, and so creates a kind of a marking that stands them in good stead for their future employment, and also aligns their values with what the program is really about. So you can see already there's variability in what this looks like, not just on topic, but in substance, but also in the ways in which you can think about how the interventions and how your programs could develop. Finally, embedding ethics in computer science classes through role play. Georgia Tech is also about a number of things. Georgia Tech has contributed to, as Steve mentioned, the RCC playbook, and has open source materials that are available for you to look at, but really also looks at how undergrads can put themselves in the scenarios, right? And role play through various scenarios that they might never have even thought about when thinking about the design and implementation, execution of various technologies. And that, I think, is really important. One of the other things that is really important is that we see success on various metrics, and especially so when projects are interdisciplinary, right? So when projects involve scholars and practitioners from different groups, from different organizations, from different fields in particular, right? From the humanities, from the social sciences, so not just data science, computer science, you start to see that we can really approach a true and critical inquiry into technology. So some of these past projects both give you variability in what you can offer, and some good lessons and in terms of design, in terms of thinking about what's possible for you to do as an offering in terms of your own institutions.
Thank you, Ziad. Thank you for that brief note or taking us through the past projects in US on RCC. Now, going to eligibility and application, I think that's one thing many of you want to know. So the first criteria is the applicant must be associated with an institution of higher education under the Ministry of Education or accredited to UGC, AICTE, or Bar Council in case of law institutes. But this doesn't, if an applicant is, if one of the PI, the principal investigator, is not, even if they are not part of that institute, they can work with another institute, but as long as they are working with an institute that is accredited, that's one of the major criteria, because in the end, we are looking at a curriculum development. Secondly, they should be eligible to receive foreign grants, the FCRO regulations, as many of you might be aware of, and they should be capable of integrating whatever they have developed into core undergraduate courses, or how we will be able to introduce that to undergraduate students as well. And finally, they should be willing to participate in the global community of practice and and the playbook, and be able to collect the student feedback as well. So these are the key criteria for participating in the RCC in India. And now, some of the example, what kind of things can be part of RCC? So syllabi update, teaching methods, case studies, field assignments, class exercise and activities. These things can be part of RCC. On the other hand, the RCC won't support a standalone computing ethics courses, revision focused on computer science content, just computer science content, and existing responsible computing courses as well. So these are the things. Now, what are the judging criteria? So the RCC is developed with certain core visions, and of course, one of the key criteria is alignment to the vision of RCC, right? Does the proposed concept align with RCC's goal of educating new wave technologies who bring holistic thinking as well as diversity and equity of the design of technology project? Secondly, feasibility. How feasible is the outlined concept? Third is the impact part. How will this approach prepare students to understand the impact of computing work and equip them with with frameworks to build better, more trustworthy, and less harmful technologies? Then the movement building, which is a key value of RCC as well as Mozilla. Does this applicant help to engage new and diverse perspectives in the conversations about ethics and technology? And finally, working open. How will you document and share your concept with local and global audiences and community of practices? So how you engage students, professors from other disciplines, other universities, innovation hubs, non-profit startups, and et cetera, et cetera. So these are the judging criteria based on which the applications will be evaluated. And I will take you through the timeline. So as I have mentioned before, on 18th July, we have officially launched the RCC in India. The deadlines for letters of intent is 18th August, which is 1 month from the launch of the program. And the full application deadline is 17th September. So essentially, we have given everyone 2 months of time to prepare the whole application. And there's almost 2 months for till the deadline from now. Now on 30th, by end of October 2023, we will be notifying the provisional award and winners. And on November, we will be onboarding the awardees. And later on in early 2024 and in summer 24, the award convening the MOSFEST and the report of the work that happened will take place. And this is the current timeline. Now the application process, as I mentioned before, a letter of intent is required, and that will be reviewed on a rolling basis. And based on that, it will be either rejected from the system or it will be passed along so that you will receive an email inviting you to submit a full application. So the first step is the letter of intent. Now the stage on applications, the concept developed, I think, development and pilot awards for 25,000 USD or 20 lakh Indian rupees. The Kenyan currency is there. Sorry for that. Will be made, will be announced. The winners will be announced in November 2023. So the stage one application deadline is 17 September, and stage 2 is the spread and scale awards of the awards will be made stage 2. Now the application process, I think we will share the link to the application process. I think that has been shared with the emails that most of you have resulted as well. I think Steve has already shared the link. Thank you, Steve. So this is the flux where you will have to do the applications. All letter of intent and full award application must be submitted through Flex. So as you can see, this is the how it will look, and this is the where you have to make your applications, both stages. And of course, you have to sign up for Flex. You will get a login credentials, and you can see the instructions here as well. At any point, if any of you have any difficulties in accessing Flex or making applications, you can feel free to drop an email to me as well. Okay, so it's taking me to the link. Right. So yeah. So tips for using Flex. Yeah, you will not be able to save and return to the letter of intent. So you have to do that in one go. In the full application, the information you submit will not auto-save. You have to save manually with the button on at the top before returning to the main page. And only click the submit button when the application is complete. After submission, you will not be able to edit the application. And Flex is not mobile friendly, so you have to complete your letter of intent and application using a laptop or a desktop computer. So now it's open to questions. Anyone have any questions? You can raise your hands or you can post it in the comments as well. Oh yeah, I think Sukumal Pal wants to know the judging criteria. Sure. Yeah. Sukumal, these are the judging criteria, and we will be having a panel of expert judges who are renowned in the field of computer science or public policy or relevant space. We'll be doing the judging as well. So I will take you through this again. Vision alignment, that's first thing. Secondly is feasibility. Third is the impact for this movement building, and finally it's working open. How will you document and share your concept with others across the globe, so other communities as well. If anyone has any questions, they can raise their hands and they can ask the questions over the call, or okay, what is the expected size of the proposal? Steve, will you be able to help me with that expected size of the proposal? Does that mean, Dr. Rajeshwari, does that mean size in terms of volume of material or anything like that? Can you clarify that question? Length of document.
Sure, happy to describe for the first. So just as a reminder, 2 different stages. You have to apply for the letter of intent, and if you go to the link that for the actual letter of intent, you'll see that it's basically a form that you have to fill out. It's not like a document that you submit. And within that form, there's different questions that require different length answers. But for the longest responses, it's something like 2,500 characters. So the idea is that for the letter of intent, it's a high-level overview that's relatively short in length. I would venture to imagine if you were to actually write it out, it'd be maybe 2 or so pages worth of actual text in the end. But the full application, so if you were to be accepted and move on to the full application stage, that's a much more comprehensive sort of document that you would then pull together that includes things like budgets, whereas the letter of intent doesn't. So really, we want to be able to save and respect people's time to make sure that whatever project you're proposing meets the 5 judging criteria that we just saw.
Sukumal Pal, what are expectations regarding judging criteria? I mean, those are criteria that's the expectations, the judging criteria, pretty much straightforward. But if you can expand on that question, I will be happy to answer.
Hi, this is Sanjay from the Center for Responsibility in Chennai. I quickly want to, so for our center, I mean, we are affiliated, we are masters and postgraduate PhD students, but we also engage with people outside. So we, for example, we do training for people working in hospitals. We do training for people working in IT companies. So does material we prepare for that audience, does that also count, or is this, what is the scope of the term student here? I'm sorry if this was already answered in a technical document, but does student necessarily mean somebody affiliated with the university, or is it anyone who is a recipient of our training?
I think they have to associate it. They don't have to be a student in the university, but if you're a student, of course, you have to be associated with the university. But you can also apply as an, if you are. So we are looking for a team rather than an individual. Let's say there's a team of 3, 4 to 5 people applying. Now you can have a team between maybe CERA, I think Sanjay, with let's say your alumni being IIT Madras or a university, you can have an association with the university, so you can lead the project at the same time. You will be working the computer science aspect, the faculty aspect will come from the particular university. It can be a university you are alumni of, or any other university you can work with. That's what I said, Annamalai University or IIT Madras, which you were affiliated of. So
so you can clarify. I mean, we are Sorry. So we are strongly affiliated. I mean, we are situated inside the IITM campus. We are affiliated with the CS department. So that's our main education affiliation. But we do deal with other institutions. So that's fine. Okay, I understand. That
you can bring other universities as well if you have. And since you are associated with IIT Madras, I think Professor Ravindran was one of the advisors for us as well. So just want to bring that up. So I hope I answered it clearly, or if you want, you can clarify your doubts. Now, Vasundhara, hi Vasundhara. Vasundhara's question is: do all the team members have to be at the same institution or organizations? So the answer is no. They can be from multiple organizations. So that's why we said it can be interdepartment or interdisciplinary or interinstitutional as well. Especially because we have found out that many of the technical institutes in India does not always have a strong social science department. At the same time, the lower universities who focus strongly on policy and legal education, they don't have a computer science department, obviously, in law universities. So you can collaborate. You can collaborate with others. What will be the funding situation for independent researchers or scholars that may be in industry but do research in the same area? Funding situation. I think as long as you have a team and it can be a team with multiple universities or a civil society organization or a research organization working with a university. So I think the funding part and the division of labor and all, I think you have to decide within the team, if I'm correct. And I'm Steve, please correct me if I'm wrong here. So you can have, of course, you can have a mix of members in the team as well.
Yeah, I'd say as long as whoever is applying or someone within that group, the point is that this is going towards training students or students, whoever they may be. If it's purely for research, where this is not being incorporated in any classes, then that would not qualify, just to clarify.
Yeah, and Professor Rajesh, whether research labs can also participate and can the course be designed for graduate and PhD students? Yes, research labs can participate, I think, but of course you have to partner with a CS institute, because the course should be decided for graduate. We are looking at the criteria is it should be designed for undergraduate students, but if it scale up, I think if it can be used by other students also, it's a good thing actually. But we focus mostly on undergraduate students, and I think like we spoke, you can work with NIT for the implementation and other parts of the project as well. Also, Vasundhara's question also, is there some condition on who can be PI and co-principal investigation? And I think scholars can be right, Steve? Scholars can be principal investigators. I'm not student about students, because in the end, we want whatever being developed through this project to be implemented in those universities or colleges. I mean, if you are a research scholar and if you have the backing of that university, then it's great. But that's the main thing here. So research scholars, definitely students, depends on where you are. If you are doing your PhD, then you are not a student, but in India we call them also students. But if you are in a senior level, then, and if you are capable of working with a team and implementing it, yeah, why not? But not for undergraduate students, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the main, to add on to that the main mechanism there is that whoever is applying has to be recognized by the university of being able to receive a grant. So in certain countries, students are not able to receive, universities will not award students grants.
That's what I was going to ask, because so many people that I want to keep on the team are either independent scholars or have their own companies. So in that sort of situation, the funding situation becomes really messy also. At the same time, it also becomes important that I have somebody from my own institution, which is also a little tricky, depending on the thing that I do want to work with. But thank you for taking the question.
So Vasundhara, the tricky thing is FCRA. You should be, if your institute is, the organization is able to access the grant, then it won't be a big problem, I guess. And yeah, and if you have any questions, I have shared my email here. You can always reach out to me on my email, or if you want to schedule a call, I'll be happy to do that as well. Thank you. So yeah, so the key contacts, we have Steve here, and yeah, my email is here as well. The links are shared in the chat. You can also find the links in the emails we have, if you have received, or I will be sharing the links with each of you in a follow-up email as well, so that you will have access to those links as well. Yep, thank you. And if you have any more questions, I'll be happy to address it, or else I can answer it separately as well.